Let's talk about, can Alphabet, Google take some of Nvidia's market share? Like what? What has been talking about that could never happen? Well, Nvidia currently controls roughly 90% of the AI computing chip market. Whenever a company dominates an industry to that extent, it creates an opportunity for competitors to enter with a comparable products that are at lower prices. They'll compete with that. That's exactly what Alphabet Google is attempting to do with its artificial intelligent chips.
And Google originally developed its custom AI chips for internal use, but it quickly realized, well, there was a much bigger opportunity. With demand for AI infrastructure exploding, Google is now producing more chips and making them available to outside customers.
NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang has repeatedly stated, both publicly and privately, that increased competition will not have a meaningful impact on NVIDIA's business. I don't get that statement. I don't know why he says that, because it happens to every business. But what else can he say? Competition almost certainly will affect NVIDIA to some degree. The company may eventually lose some market share and can be forced to lower chip prices to maintain its dominant position.
And I think the thing that I look at here is he might still have the best chip, which I believe he does. I'm not a techie, but based off everything I see, he does. But they're finding different chips that can be used to replicate parts of that equation. So instead of putting in that full stack, it's like, well, I could use, Google's chip for this piece of the equation, bring down my overall cost. And I think that's where that competition is going to ensue. It doesn't necessarily have to completely replace the full NVIDIA tech stack, but even again, it displaces a part of it. That's competition.
Yeah.
And Google, well, I mean, there's no denying this. They have significant financial resources to support its AI ambitions. In Western New York, for example, Google reportedly provided a $3.2 billion financial guarantee tied to the Lake Marina AI data center project. NVIDIA has used similar strategies in the past to strengthen relationships with customers and partners.
And we've talked about this before. It just is amazing because you're loaning to your customer buying your product. If that customer does have problems, you lose twice. They've stopped buying your product and they can't repay the loan that you loaned them on their product. So that's why this type of financing does concern me. When you provide finance to a company that's also purchasing your products, you take on the two risks I just talked about. If that customer runs into financial trouble, you could lose both future product sales and repay on the financing arrangement. And again, I know that Jensen Huang thinks this is not going to happen, but I mean, Google's kind of using their playbook.
Yeah, I mean, it is always a risk. I mean, nothing is risk-free, and I think it's naive to believe that there's not going to be competition. I mean, there is,
But what else can he say?
Yeah.
I mean,
you got to keep NVIDIA stock price around 200. You don't want to say, yeah, we're screwed.
I think on Friday I saw it fell like to 192.
Yeah, I think it was around 192. But I also do suspect NVIDIA has substantial leverage with many of its customers. They have done a great job kind of weaving together a tight group of companies. I mean, they really are invested in a bunch of different businesses, and they have this network that I think they have built out to have that leverage. But companies may worry that reducing purchases from NVIDIA today could limit access to future chip allocations if demand remains strong. And I was going to say one thing that worries me with this web that they've built is if something happens to NVIDIA, they're going to drag down the whole industry that they've kind of built with, Corning is an example. I know that they've invested in the glass maker, and they've really kind of had such a large impact in the positive side that if things turn negative, I think it's going to be quite impactful to those companies as well.
And Google isn't the only company challenging NVIDIA. Competitors such as AMD, Broadcom, and newer entrants like Cerberus Systems are all looking for ways to gain a foothold into the rapidly growing AI chip market. And this is what it is. High demand creates higher prices, brings in other people to sell at a lower price.
Yeah, and we talked about this a little bit already with Micron. It's just a different chip space, and you will see competition down the road. I just don't see how you don't. But NVIDIA stock, I mean, they've delivered incredible returns over the past several years. The question investors should be asking, though, is whether increasing competition and the possibility of future chip oversupply could eventually take some of the shine off NVIDIA's valuation. I've talked about this a lot in the past as well, but right now you're looking at earnings estimates for all of these chip makers we just talked about growing at like something crazy, like 30, 40, 50, 60% per year. I just don't see every chip company winning, and that's how the market's pricing it right now. And I do believe we will have that oversupply. You see it all the time where industry gets excited, people build it out, and then that oversupply comes, and it causes prices to decline dramatically. Great for the consumer, not great for the company.
Right.